We're alone. Where is the passion of God? Was holy love. Good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to my channel this morning. We are going to be continuing with the reading of the Holy Book. And this morning we are reading from the Book of Deuteronomy. For those of you who have been following me with this Bible reading, we have started to read the book because, after all, it is quite important to each and every one of us that we know what is in the Bible, at least what it says, rather than being told what it says. We started this journey several months ago from the book of Genesis, and this was born out of my curiosity about what exactly the Bible says. Because I hear quotes all the time. I hear people say this is in the Bible, that is in the Bible, and oftentimes I just swallow it as fact without having checked it for myself. And so I decided to take you on this journey with me so that together we can read and share our own understanding of it. Because after all, whatever is in the Bible, whether you believe it or not, it has an influence it has an influence on every aspect of your life. Most of the laws in just about every country has some biblical origin. And we have found that time and time again in the books that we've read so far. So come with me. If you are new here, come with me. Let's continue on this journey together. And if you have been with me throughout this time, I want to say thank you for your continued support. Now, this morning, we are going to be reading the book of Deuteronomy, chapters 3 and 4. Then we turned and went up the way to Bashan. Overton, how are you doing, my love? You know, Overton, I looked on the phone this morning and thought I should call Overton. I should text you. But then I remember what you told me yesterday. And I said, okay, all right. Maybe tomorrow I'll text him. But good to see you, my love. Good to see you. Hope you're having a fabulous morning. I am having a good morning. And I'm getting up and getting this out of the way before we move on to other things for the day. We are on to Deuteronomy chapter 3. And then we turned and went up the way to Bashan. And Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. And the Lord said unto me, fear him not, for I will deliver him and all his people and his land into thy hand. And thou shalt do unto him as thou didst unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, which dwelt at Heshbon. So the Lord our God delivered into our hands Og also, the king of Bashan, and all his people, and we smote him until none was left to him remaining. And we took all his cities at that time. There was not a city which we took not from them. 70 cities. All the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these cities were fenced with high walls, gates, and bars, beside unwalled towns, a great many. And we utterly destroyed them, as we did unto Sihon, king of Heshbon, utterly destroying the men, women, and children of every city. But all the cattle and the spoil of the cities we took for a prey to ourselves. And we took at that time out of the hand of the two kings of the Amorites the land that was on the side Jordan, from the river of Arnon unto Mount Hermon, which Arnon the Sidonians call Sirion, and the Amorites call it Shenir. All the cities of the plain, and all of Gilead, and all Bashan, unto Salshah and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of giants. Behold, his bedfast was a bedfast of iron. It is not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon. 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after the cubit of a man. And this land, which we possessed at that time, from Arior, which is by the river Arnon, and half Mount Gilead, and the cities thereof, gave I unto the Reubenites and to the Gadites. And the rest of Gilead and all Bashan, being the kingdom of Og, gave I unto the half tribe of Manasseh, all the region of Argob, with all Bashan, which was called the land of giants. If you all remember in an earlier reading, it spoke about when they were in Bashan, it also spoke about how the men were huge, they were tall, and they were big. They looked like giants compared to the Israelites. And that is why they called that land the land of giants. Jair. Before I go any further, Jair, you all remember Jair, the son of Manasseh. That's Manasseh's brother, okay? Jair, the son of Manasseh, took all the country of Argob onto the coast of Geshuri and Mashathi, and called them after his own name, Bashan Havoth Jair, until this day. And I gave Gilead unto Masher, and unto the Reubenites and unto the Gadites I gave from Gilead even unto the river Arnon half the valley, and the border even unto the river Jabbok, which is the border of the children of Ammon. I just so love this woman. Mikey. Good morning, Mikey. A blessed Tuesday morning to you, my darling. Oh my gosh. So good to see you, my love. I hope you're having a fabulous morning. I am having a good morning. I hope my day fares as well. We are on to verse 17 of Deuteronomy chapter 3. If you have your Google Bible or your book Bible, please follow with us. The plains also, and Jordan, and the coast thereof, from Chinnereth, even unto the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, unto Ashdoth, Pisgah eastward. And I commanded you at this time, saying, The Lord your God hath given you this land to possess it. He shall pass over armed before your brethren, the children of Israel, all that are met for the war. But your wives, and your little ones, and your cattle, for I know that ye have much cattle, shall abide in your cities which I have given you, until the Lord hath given rest to your brethren, as well as unto you, and until they also possess the land which the Lord your God hath given them beyond Jordan. And then shall ye return every man unto his possession, which I have given you. So right here, guys, Moses has distributed the land. He has given the Reubenites and the Gadites, and he has given the half tribe, which was the half of Manasseh's tribe. He had given Jair his portion. He had given Masher his portion. And even though he had given them the portions of the land that they had conquered, so to speak, he was still not going to leave them because he needed the tribes for battle. They had not yet crossed Jordan. And so they had not yet finished conquering all the other lands that were in front of them. And they were expecting war. They were expecting people to fiercely defend their lands. And so he said, even though I have given you all of this land, what you will do is leave the cattle. You're going to leave the cattle behind on the land that I've given you, your wives and little ones. But you will continue, the men, you all will continue in the battle. Because we need you for the fight. So imagine you are given this land that you should live on, but the person who's giving it to you says, well, you got to leave the cows and the goats and the sheep and all your animals on the land, but you can't stay. You have to remain with the tribe so that we can continue, because we are continuing to fight. Imagine you continue and you don't live to come back to the land. But back in those days, the worth of a man was measured with his animals. And even though the risk of dying in a war was just as real as it is today, people still chose war. Imagine that. But we're going to continue. We are on to verse 20. Hey, Sister Jackie, how you doing, my love? So good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you. On to verse 20. Until the Lord hath given test. Oh, thank you, Mikey. Thank you so much for that share. Verse 20 says, until the Lord have given test unto you, brethren, unto your brethren, as well as unto you, and until they also possess the land which the Lord your God hath given them beyond Jordan. And then shall ye return every man unto his possession, which I have given you. And I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, thine eyes have seen all that the Lord your God hath done unto these two kings. So shall the Lord do unto all the kingdoms whither thou passest. He shall not fear them, for the Lord your God, he shall fight for you. And I besought the Lord at that time, saying, O Lord God, thou hast begun to show thy servant thy greatness and thy mighty hand. For what God is there in heaven or in earth that can do according to thy works and according to thy might? I pray thee, let me go over and see the good land that is beyond Jordan, that godly mountain and Lebanon. But the Lord was wroth with me for your sakes, and would not hear me. And the Lord said unto me, let it suffice thee. Speak no more unto me of this matter. Get thee up into the top of Pisgah, and lift up thine eyes westward, and northward, and southward, and eastward, and behold it with thine eyes, for thou shalt not go over this Jordan. So here, guys, the Lord was angry was angry with Moses. The Lord was angry with Moses. And so he told him, you will not get over there. You will not get across the River Jordan to that land. If you want to see that land, you have to go up on Mount Pisgah, look to the east, look to the west, look to the north, look to the south, and you will see the land, but you will not get there. Verse 28, but charge Joshua and encourage him and strengthen him, for he shall go over before his people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which thou shalt see. So we abode in the valley over against Beth Peor. That's at the end of chapter 3 of Deuteronomy. And in Deuteronomy, chapter 3, we just learned that Moses was forbidden from going over across River Jordan to the promised land because he had wrathed God. He had made God angry. And so God commanded him to continue to give all the instructions to Joshua. Remember, Joshua was taking over from Moses. And so the Lord instructed him to give Joshua all the instructions he was going to need, because he was going to be able to lead the people across the River Jordan into the promised land. But Moses wouldn't be. Chapter 4. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live, and go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers giveth you. He shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall he diminish aught from it, that he may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that followed Baal Peor, the Lord thy God hath destroyed them from among you. But he that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye shall do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great? Who hath God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. Verse 10. Especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And he came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude, only he heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. And he wrote them upon 2 tablets of stones. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that he may do them in the land whither he go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for he saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. Lest ye corrupt yourselves, and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto the heaven, and when thou seest the sun, and the moon, and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them, and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. And the Lord hath taken you, and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, and ye are this day. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sake, and sware that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go in unto that good land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but he shall go over and possess that good land. Take heed unto yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image, or the likeness of anything which the Lord thy God hath forbidden thee. For the Lord thy God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God. When thou shalt beget children, and children's children, and he shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image, or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of the Lord thy God, to provoke him to anger. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that he shall soon utterly perish from off the land, whereunto he go over Jordan to possess it. He shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of man's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear, nor eat, nor smell, but it shall hence, but it but if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him, if thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Verse 30. When thou art in tribulation, and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God, and shalt be obedient unto his voice. For the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of heaven unto the other, whether there hath been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard like this. Okay, Overton, thank you so much, my dear. Thank you so much for staying with me. Verse 33. Did ever people hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou hast heard and live? Or hath God essayed to go and take him, a nation from the midst of another nation, by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? Unto thee it was shewed, that thou mightest know that the Lord, he is God, there is none else beside him. Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee, and upon earth he shewed thee his great fire, and thou hearest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and thought thee out of his and and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee, greater and mightier than thou art, to bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that the Lord, he is God in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath. There is none else. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee forever. Then Moses, then Moses, then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan towards the sun rising, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor unawares, and hated him not in times past, and that fleeth unto one of these cities, he might live, namely Bezer in the wilderness, in the plain country of the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead of the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan of the Manassites. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which Moses spake unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt. On this side Jordan, in the valley over against Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote, after they were come forth out of Egypt. And they possessed his land, and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side Jordan, towards the sun rising. From Arior, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the plains on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain, under the springs of Pisgah. And that was the end of chapter 4. Kind of a sudden ending there, but it ended nonetheless. That was the end of chapter 4 of the Deuteronomy, where Moses is finalizing all the land grab on this side of Jordan to the sunrise. And we know the sun rises in the east. So that was east of the river Jordan, where he was distributing the land. And remember, he was giving land to the 2.5 tribes. And I know a lot of people say, well, the 2.5 tribes. Don't forget the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribes for Manasseh. Because a half of Manasseh's tribe was being left over there by Gilead, and the rest was going to continue the journey. So he gave land to Manasseh's 2 sons over on that side of Jordan. All right, that's going to be the ending of this morning's reading. We are going to come back tomorrow where we will read chapters 5 and 6. So if you will, join me again tomorrow morning at around this time where we will continue the reading of the Holy Book. Tomorrow morning we'll be reading from the Book of Deuteronomy, chapters 5 and 6. Guys, do not forget that the reading serves as resource for our Swords in Hand / Bible Trivia, which will be coming up this Thursday. This Thursday, we're going to be having a shortened version, which will run for about an hour and a half. So be prepared and come to win some credit. If you're in Jamaica, you'll win credit. If you're in America, you can share the credit with our Jamaican listeners. Okay? Until next time, my friends, this is Trev from Trevessence, where your journey matters. You go ahead and have yourselves a great day, my friends. Overton, thanks for coming in. Mikey, thanks for coming in. Thanks for that share. Journey with Jackie, thank you so much for coming in. I sincerely appreciate you guys for your love and for your support. I appreciate it. And for the silent listeners out there, I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much, my friends. Go ahead and have yourselves a great day. See you all later.